I'm a longtime Vim Terminal TMUX user. And over the last year, with AI becoming so dominant and the AI tools out there, I started using Cursor. And as much as I hated to come off of my very well trusty Vim configuration, I actually made the plunge and started using VS Code and Cursor to start using the Copilot and the more agentic style programming. And while I wasn't a big fan of the larger IDE, it was a little cumbersome for me. Definitely used more memory than Vim did and slowed my machine down a bit because I have a lot of code tasks open at once. I really liked a couple of features that came with Cursor. And one of the things that I really liked with Cursor quite a bit was the fact that I could come over here and in my command tool, I could say Command K, and I could say things like, what is running on port 8888. Now this is one of those things where I probably can remember the command if I really think about it, but I just got tired of having to look up common commands at the shell that I wasn't an expert in. And it would go ahead and do something like that for me. And I really like to be able to do that. Okay, here's what's running on that port, and now I actually know what's going on. And I can figure out why I can't start up on port 8888 now, right? That was kind of a big deal. But I recently moved back to TMUX and Terminal and Vim again because with the agentic style coding and having all the Claude sessions open, it was really taking a lot of memory with the IDE, and the fact it was taking up 50, 60 gig of actual memory at a time because every cursor runs its own Go Please instance. And when it does that, you're talking 50 to 60 megabits or sometimes 500 megabits. And if I'm running 50 sessions, as you can imagine, that's a lot of memory. And I'm able to configure the Claude Code CLI to actually use the Go Please as a service instead, and it actually only launches one Go Please regardless of how many Claude sessions I have open. And I've got another article on that too if you want to see that. However, what I really missed was this ability to come out and just do these commands like that. And I thought to myself, well, how hard can this be, right? And so I wrote a couple of actual quick shell scripts. I wrote a how script and I wrote a please script. And the differences are a little subtle, but if I come into my terminal here, I could say something like this. Now, how do I see what is running on port 888? Okay. Now, this function is going to go ahead and just shell straight into Claude code of the CLI, and it's going to effectively do exactly what Cursor was doing, right? So it puts that into my command prompt, and now I hit enter, and there it is. So the same thing, right? I could say something like, how do I see the largest file in this directory? And we don't care about spelling because Claude will figure it out. And now it's going to go ahead and give me that command, and there we go, right? That's the largest file in this directory. So again, just really simple things like this make a big difference. Now, sometimes I don't want to run commands. Sometimes I just want to know something, right? Maybe I just want to know what are the top largest files here, right? So I wrote a different one, which is called please, which is please find the top 5 largest files in my root home folder. Something like that. And now it's actually going to do the work, just like Claude would do the work. But I don't have to leave my terminal for this. And that's the real big deal for me, is I don't have to leave that. And I'll come back here in just a second, and we'll see what it finds out. And then we'll take a look at the actual code that does this. All right, so there we go, right? So it's kind of telling me these are the biggest files right there in my home directory. This is a brand new computer, by the way, so you might be thinking, wow, you don't have much in your home folder. It's pretty clean. That's actually because this is a brand new computer. All right, let's take a look at the actual code that does this. I didn't actually write this code. I just came up with this idea one day, and I said, Claude, how do I do this? So the please one is actually quite simple. Okay, so if we look at the actual function here, we see that it actually is called _PLS, and you might be wondering why I did that. The problem I was having originally when I ran these commands is that if I had spaces or question marks or anything like that, just as a natural language, then the bash completion would try to kick in and try to do all the fancy stuff that bash completion does based on all the syntax. And I didn't want that, so I created an alias instead. And the alias is please, and basically I put the noglob on front of there. And that prevents all the globbing issues with bash, which is really nice. And so now it does noglob and then does _PLS. And that basically calls the function over here, which is PLS. And again, I have just a really simple system prompt here. I'm telling Claude what it is. I'm running it with the -p, which basically just runs exactly what you want. And then I actually return the answer in the actual prompt itself. And that's how that ends up working. So really simple tool that does that. And then how is the exact same thing? How is a little more specific, where it's going to do the actual work for me and get the answer back, which is pretty nice. So again, super simple tools, super simple bash scripts. These are something that I'll link in the show notes underneath. You can come get them on my repo, but I use these all the time. Now, if you're not a Claude person, if you're a Codex person or a Gemini person, you can easily adapt these to the exact same thing. I'll go ahead and put those in the show notes as well, just so you have both of them as well and can run any of these regardless of which subscription you're running. Again, for me, this was really about using a feature in Cursor, which was the only thing I really liked from the IDE or VS Code, and allowed me to do the Command K down here and type anything I wanted to know about the CLI or the terminal. The thing that makes our agentic processes super powered are the fact that they know every bash command or every terminal command or every combination of those commands on the planet, and it gives you superpowers. And I miss that superpower at my terminal. So now at my terminal, I have these available anytime I want them, very easy, and I never have to open a Claude session just to ask it a simple little command. Sometimes I need to know how to do a get hard reset or a fancy version of a get hard reset, and I don't want to open Claude if I'm already at the terminal just for that very simple thing. I can now just go ahead and say please, and then tell it exactly what I want. It gives me the command back, and then I can hit enter and I'm good to go. Again, I'm in control here. I don't have to hit enter if I don't want to. I can change the command, but I don't have to keep looking up all these commands. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, if you liked it, like and subscribe. I've got a bunch of these coming in the next week as well. I'm going to keep cranking out a lot of these really little short things that I do every single day just to make my life a little bit easier.